Hello, I'm Dr. Deena Stacer. Today we're going to talk about the power of generosity. At the end of this video, after we've talked about the stingiest man in the world, we're going to talk about how you can help raise gold medal children with strategies to help them and your family become more generous and to benefit from all of the research that says that more generosity leads to a happier, more fuller life. Oh, and be sure and subscribe if you like this video and you'd like to be notified whenever I've launched a new video that will give you more strategies on how to be a gold medal parent. The Power of Generosity, starring the one and only, the stingiest man in the world, Ebenezer Scrooge, from A Christmas Carol, written by Charles Dickens. Ebenezer Scrooge is the star of the story called A Christmas Carol. It was written by Charles Dickens in 1843, and it is still as popular today as it was then. At the beginning of the story, Scrooge is described as a very selfish, cold-hearted miser who is a stingy person who hoards their money and spends as little money as possible on others who are in dire need. You will hear direct quotes from the author in the remaining portion of this video. Charles Dickens describes Ebenezer Scrooge with, "Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Secret and self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head, and on his eyebrows, and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperatures always about with him. He iced his office in dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas. External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge. No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. Scrooge treated all others with disdain. He was selfish to the core. Bob Cratchit, his own employee, he treated in a pitiful manner, with no regard for his welfare. Scrooge hated Christmas, and he was downright nasty to everyone, especially those who loved to celebrate Christmas. When gentlemen would stop at his business to ask for donations for the poor, Scrooge would often growl at them, "Bah, humbug!" One dark night, Scrooge's business partner, Jacob Marley's ghost, who had been dead for 7 years, showed up in Scrooge's dark chambers, wearing a heavy chain made of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses wrought in steel. The ghost of Marley explains to Scrooge that during his life on earth, he has created this chain that he must carry because of his own selfish actions. Marley is required to carry it for the rest of eternity. Now, Scrooge tries to deny he's talking to a ghost. He refuses to acknowledge that Marley's ghost is in his bedroom. "You're not real. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There is more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. I wear the chains I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. No space of regret can make amends for one's life opportunities misused. I'm here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, Ebenezer. You will be haunted by 3 spirits. Without their visits, You cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1. Expect the second on the next night at the same hour, and the third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look that for your own sake you remember what is past between us." Scrooge tried to keep his terror down, for the spectre's voice disturbed the very marrow in his bones. As Marley's ghost predicted, Scrooge is visited in the middle of the night by the first spirit. When Scrooge awakens, he is startled when he sees a spirit, who is the ghost of Christmas past. Scrooge is still in denial about the appearance of Marley. He's a bit sarcastic and bitter. He wants to believe that he is just having indigestion or a bad dream. Scrooge tries to make light of the spirit's presence. He makes a bold inquiry of the spirit, "What business brings you here?" The spirit answers coldly, "Your welfare. Take heed." Then the ghost of Christmas past takes Scrooge to scenes from his past, showing him visions of his childhood and his young adulthood. The spirit takes Scrooge to watch when Belle, his fiancée, breaks up with him. She tells him that he has become greedy and preoccupied accumulating wealth. She tells him she no longer wants to marry the selfish man he has become. Scrooge becomes angry. He doesn't want to watch the replay of Belle leaving him. He wrestles with the spirit, trying to extinguish its light, but it will not go out. Then the spirit put out its strong hand as it spoke and clasped him gently by the arm, saying, "Rise and walk with me." Once again, Scrooge is awakened at the stroke of 1, when the second spirit, the ghost of Christmas present, has arrived. He was a large, generous, and vibrant spirit who was sitting in Scrooge's room, which was now filled with all sorts of holiday food, as if there was a feast going on in his room. "Come in!" exclaimed the ghost. "Come in and know me better, man." The spirit's dark brown curls were long and free as its genial face, its sparkling eye, its open hand, its cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanor, and its joyful air. By now, seeing this spirit, Scrooge has become more willing to let the spirit teach him the lessons he's supposed to learn. The spirit shows Scrooge Christmas Day celebrations in the home of Bob Cratchit, his kind employee. He shows Scrooge how poor the family is, but he also sees how happy they are, too. He gets to see Tiny Tim, a fragile boy who may die unless he gets medical attention. Later, Spirit takes Scrooge to see Fred, his warm-hearted nephew. They visit his home while they're celebrating Christmas Day. Scrooge asks the Spirit whether Tiny Tim will live. The Spirit uses Scrooge's own words he said earlier in the day when the gentleman visited his bank and asked him to donate money for the poor. "If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population." Right before the Spirit leaves Scrooge, it reveals 2 yellow, meager children who are hiding under its cloak. Spirit says to Scrooge they are called Ignorance and Want. The Spirit predicts that mankind, including Scrooge, will suffer unless the lessons of generosity and caring tolerance are learned. Then Scrooge heads back to bed. When the last stroke of 12 had ceased to vibrate, the ghost of what is yet to come arrived. When he came near, Scrooge immediately bent down upon his knee, for in the very air through which the Spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible except one outstretched hand. It was difficult to detach its figure from the night and separate it from the darkness. It was a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. It didn't say a word to Scrooge, but it glided along using his long, bony finger to point out scenes to Scrooge. And Scrooge says, "Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I've seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I'm prepared to bear you company and do it with a thankful heart." Spirit gave him no reply. Then the spirit took Scrooge to a funeral scene. There were a few businessmen talking about where all the money was that the dead man left. Then the ghost took Scrooge through dark alleyways to a scene where 3 people were picking through the belongings of the dead man. Scrooge wondered if the dead man may be him. The spirit then takes Scrooge back to the Cratchit household, and the spirit of Christmas future points at the chimney corner. Scrooge says, I see a vacant seat. The child has died. In the poor chimney corner is a crutch without an owner carefully preserved. Scrooge learns that Tiny Tim has died. He sees how devastated the entire Cratchit family is by his death. Scrooge realizes how he could have helped the family, especially Tiny Tim. He realizes he is the one who let the poor boy die. Then the ghost of Christmas future takes Scrooge to the cemetery, and Future's finger pointed from the tombstone to him and back again. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, he read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. Am I the man who lay upon the bed? Upon his knees, Scrooge cries, "No, Spirit! Oh, no, no!" The finger was still pointing there. "Spirit," he cries, tightly clutching at his robe, "hear me! I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this intercourse. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Your nature intercedes for me, and it pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life." "Spirit," implores Scrooge, shuddering from head to foot, I see! The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Oh, merciful heaven!" Scrooge then asked the spirit, "Are these the shadows of the things that will be? Or are they shadows of things that may be?" Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own. To make amends. Clutching his bedpost, Scrooge is now fully awake and remembers each of the spirit's visits. He looks around. Then he looks out the window and yells to a boy below, "What's today, my fine fellow?" The boy on the street looks up and replies quizzically, "Today? Why, Christmas Day!" Scrooge, elated, exclaims, "It's Christmas Day! Oh, I haven't missed it!" Scrooge then gives instructions to the boy to buy the biggest turkey in the shop window, and he tells him to take it to the Cratchit's home without revealing the giver. Scrooge is alive. He has a second chance to make things right. And now, with a joy that vibrated his being and the realization that he was alive, Scrooge giggles. The chuckle with which he said this, and the chuckle with which he paid for the turkey, and the chuckle with which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy were only to be exceeded by the chuckle with which he sat down breathless in his chair again and chuckled till he cried. Scrooge, now excited about his future, decides to visit his nephew on Christmas Day. He can make things right with him. Scrooge says to his nephew, I don't know what to do, while laughing and crying in the same breath. I'm making a perfect lagoon of myself with my stockings. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world. Hello here. Hello, whoop, hello. And Scrooge took to heart the lessons he learned. He was transformed from a selfish and greedy man who hurt others to one who used his resources to help others. He heeded the warning that the ghost of Marley had given him, and all who knew him heard him constantly say, "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me." And in time Scrooge became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew. One of the main lessons we can take from the story of Ebenezer Scrooge is that we must be generous with what we have to help others. Perhaps Jacob Marley was not just a character in a story long ago, but a real principle that we need to apply to our lives today. And the message is that living a generous life helps others who cannot help themselves at that moment. Although Scrooge was given a second chance, we have the opportunity right now to live a life that is more meaning and touches our family and friends for better. We can help others in our community and our world for good. Highly generous people win at higher levels. Research on generosity has been done in recent years. One project called the Science of Generosity Initiative, done through Notre Dame University, revealed that highly generous people live life at higher levels. Sociologists Christian Smith and Hilary Davidson share three important findings. When you start giving your money and your time away, you'll be happier for it. Americans who describe themselves as very happy volunteer an average of 5.8 hours per month. Highly generous people also have lower depression rates among Americans when they donate more than 10% of their incomes. And giving away money isn't the only way to reap the psychological benefits of generosity. Americans who are very giving in relationships, being emotionally available and hospitable, are 48% more likely to be in excellent health. Researchers have also found that most of us can learn to become more generous. One of the best ways to be happier was to give more. We can give our joy away. The more happy, healthy, and self-directed someone's life is, the more generous they are likely to become. Highly generous people experience changes to their neurochemicals in their brain by creating an upward spiral that leads to more happiness, better health, and more generosity. We benefit others at the same time as we get a wonderful adrenaline high. When we focus on becoming more generous to others, we also find that we expand the circle of people in our lives. We end up having more friendships and deeper relationships. Researchers identify 8 benefits that you can experience when you become a highly generous person. You'll experience greater satisfaction in life, including friendships, family, romance, and finances. You'll have more close friends who also turn out to be more generous. You will strengthen your relationships with the people you know, and you will be happier and more satisfied with your career. You will have a more positive outlook and enjoy life more. You will have better physical and mental health. You will feel satisfied with what you already have, your home, car, and other possessions. You will believe that more money does not make you happier. You will have higher self-esteem. You will be proud of who you are and live a moral and upstanding life. Here are 8 ways you can help your children to be more generous. You can teach them how to share with their siblings, friends, and community. You can teach them to be generous by giving away something they want to do to help others. You can teach them how to donate their time to something charitable, whether it's a formal organization or a small family project you create together. You can teach them how to respect and care about others, caring for their pets, others' belongings, and sacrificing something they want to sacrifice. You can teach them how to have empathy with the ability to step in others' shoes. You can teach them how to gratefully give money out of their own earnings. You can teach them how to give of themselves without expecting anything back in return. And you can teach them how to lead others to become more generous. I will go through more detail in the next few slides. Number 1, you have to teach your children how to share with their siblings, friends, at school, and with the community. Here are some ideas to do that. Number 1, learning to share begins at home. Little children need to have something of their own before they can learn to share. When friends come to play, help them put away their favorite toys so they do not have to share them with the others. Then help them pick out toys they are okay sharing with their siblings and friends. 2, treat being generous as an essential character trait in your family. Teach your children how to be generous by talking about giving and sharing, sacrificing, and donating. And number 3, reward your children when they are kind, caring, and generous with their siblings, friends, schoolmates, and the community. Offer praise and even rewards to reinforce good character traits as part of your family culture. Number 2, help your children learn how to become generous by giving away something they want to do to help others. Here are some ideas. Number 1, teach your children to be generous by helping them pick out new toys that they want to give to children who do not have toys. Take them to the donation center to drop them off. Have them talk about how good it feels when they give. Give them directly to the children, if possible, to make the gift real and the feelings real. Tell them stories about how you gave money, items, time, resources, and how it makes you feel good and makes you a better person. Number 3, watch holiday movies that depict generosity, like A Christmas Carol, The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and It's a Wonderful Life. And number 4, read books like The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Book by Ellen Sabin, The Quilt Maker's Gift by Jeff Brumbaugh, and One Hen by Katie Smith Milway. Teach your children how to donate their time to something charitable, whether it's a formal organization or a small family project you create together. So examples: discuss a local charity that you and your children want to support. Find out how you can donate time, money, items, or skills. Then schedule a time when you all participate together for the charity. Do this yearly. Number 2, if you have an idea for a donation you want to create as a small project, create a plan with your children and have them work closely with you to make the donation. This may be more work overall. However, your children will always remember that you have involved them in the planning and the implementation, and in the discussion afterwards about what they learned, how they felt, and what you're going to do the next time. Make it a yearly event. Teach your children how to respect and care about others. Teach them how to care for their pets, as well as respect belongings, their own and others. Teach them how to sacrifice something they want to, but are willing to sacrifice. Here's some ideas. If you have pets, start early teaching your children how to properly pet them, feed them, and treat them. If you do not have pets, go to a petting zoo and practice petting the pets. Read stories about caring for pets. What Pet Should I Get by Dr. Seuss. Dog Training for Kids by Vanessa Estrada Marin are both good books. Teach your children exactly how they should respect others' belongings, including your furniture, as well as their own. Find ways for the family to do something that requires sacrificing time, resources, or money for a less fortunate family. Teach your children how to have empathy with the ability to step into others' shoes. Learn and apply the 8 steps of empathy. The 8 steps of empathy are about giving empathy and then helping your children be prepared for when a similar situation happens again so they know how to solve it. There are reasons for that. So step number 1, let's pretend that your child comes home from school upset because their friends wouldn't play with them. The first step we call ooh, ah, oh. Listen to your child to find out what happened. Say things like, tell me more about what happened. Keep asking them questions until you know everything that happened. When you're asking questions, you want to respond with compassion. So you say things like, oh, after they make a comment, and then, ooh. Now, you don't really have to sound like that, but the idea is to remember step 1 is just ask questions and answer with compassion. Do not solve the problem yet. You don't know the whole story. Sometimes parents want to jump into solving the problem before the child feels heard. Your goal right now is to peel the cosmic onion and get the entire story without judgment, an opinion, or jumping in to solve the problem. So, ooh, ah, oh. And then what happened? Oh. And then what happened? Ah. And then what happened? Oh. So step 1, ooh, ah, oh. Step 2, say things to them when you're listening and it's appropriate and you've got the story. It sounds like you might be feeling angry, or are you feeling sad? Now, sometimes you don't need to say that because they'll tell you, but when they're younger, what you're doing is helping them understand and identify certain emotions. When you ask questions, your children may say, no, I'm not angry. I'm so frustrated. I'm sad. I'm lonely. You want your children to know that those emotions are normal and they're scary, but they don't last forever. When you can ask the question and you can identify, your child goes, oh, that's what that is. And if they already know, then you're glad that they can put a label to the emotions they're feeling. The next one, number 3, say something like, I remember when I felt that way. What you're doing is telling your children an appropriate story that fits their emotion, and it helps them know that you understand that experience and have experienced it, but you're not in the same place right now, which means they'll go, oh, well, my mom or dad isn't feeling that right now. They're not angry like I am. Therefore, I will get over it too. They'll be okay. Step 4. This is where you start teaching. Say something like, sweetheart, this might happen again. What you're doing is helping to recognize patterns of behavior that occur over and over again that the child needs help solving and being prepared for. So I'm going to tell you a quick version of a story. Years ago, I had a child come to me because his mom said he's really upset. So when I asked him the question, so tell me what happened, and then what else happened during that time, every single time he would get dropped off at his dad's where he lived, Mom had him for the weekend, he felt overwhelmed. So when I asked him what happened next and then what happened next, what I heard was a story. Whenever Mom dropped the 13-year-old boy off to Dad, Dad would be outside waiting for Mom to drop them off. Then Dad would motion for Mom to roll the window down, and Mom would roll the window down, and Dad would start yelling, and then Mom would grip the steering wheel and start yelling back. And the boy was experiencing high anxiety. So when I asked him the questions and I started hearing the story, I said to him, it's going to happen again. And you know how I know that? Because you were able to tell me the story of what happens first, second, and third. So then, of course, I asked him, would you like me to help you? And he said, well, yes, I would. So we started talking about what happens when it happens again. We started talking about what he would do the next time it happened again. So this is what you need to understand. If a friend is being mean to a child, chances are it's not an isolated event. It's been happening or will continue to happen. We want our children to know that they can come to us and we'll help them solve the problem. So when I talked to the boy, I said, look, there's a pattern here. Every time your mom drops you off, your dad comes out to the car. He motions for your mom to roll the window down. Your mom rolls the window down. She clutches the steering wheel. She yells back, and you have an anxiety attack. He goes, yeah. Okay, do you think I can get your dad to stop coming out to the car? He said, no. Right, they were having conflict. It's been going on a long time. Okay, so we'll eliminate dad. And what about your mom? Do you think your mom has been in my class? Do you think I can teach her to stop opening the window? No. Okay, that leaves you. I need to help you solve the problem for when it happens again. So I explained to him about the patterns, what dad does and then what mom does. And of course, jokingly, I said, look, every time it happens again, the next time when it's your turn, why don't you just start making faces? And he looks at me like, I can't do that. That would be awful. And I said, look, your parents aren't paying attention. They're running high anxiety states too. You just need to figure out what to do the next time it happens. So I gave him some solutions. For example, I gave him some funny solutions. I said to him, why don't you go over on the grass and do some somersaults? Why don't you go in the house and slam the bedroom door really hard because no one's listening? Or go make cookies or do something productive. And so that was the plan for him to figure out what to do the next time it happened. So 9 months later, he asked if he could come back and see me. Mom brings him back. He's a completely different child. And he says to me so cute, guess what? And I go, what? The other day, I did a distraction. Oh, what did you do? He said, well, you know how my dad does this and my mom does this? And he went through the whole scenario. And I said, yes. He said, well, when it was my turn, I went over to the grass and did a fake faint. I laughed. Well, what happened? He said, my dad ran over to see if I was okay. And my mom zoomed off. Now, here's the question for you as a parent. Was the child messed up the whole 9 months that he was planning on what to do the next time it happened? And the answer is no. He was coming up with a solution. I wonder if this would work. I wonder if this next time it happens if I did that. And finally he came up with a solution to do a fake faint the next time it happened. The child was changed. Why? Because instead of being freaked out about what would happen the next time it happened, he was going to try something different. And it worked. Now, here's the rest of the story. The young man was 13 when he came back to me. He asked his mom if he could come see me again when he was 18. He was a transformed boy. And what he said to me was that learning about patterns and figuring out what to do the next time has changed me. I see it all the time, and I'm able to solve problems because I recognize patterns and I practice what to do the next time it happens. The young man came to me again at 21. What an amazing child. And he told me, you changed my life when you taught me those skills. So you see, even if the child is really upset because their friends won't play with them, when you teach children to expect a problem when it occurs again, and you say to them, this might happen again, let's figure out what to do, your children will grow from it. They'll become ready to solve problems without being fragile or freaked out as they mature. Step 5 is logical. after you've said to your children, well, this might happen again, we've got to solve the problem and figure out what to do the next time. Now, there are many problems where you can't solve people. If kids won't play with your children, you're going to say, well, sometimes kids don't play with each other. Maybe they've got other friends to play with, or maybe that day they're not at school, or whatever the problem is, we're going to help our children know what to do the next time. So we solve what to do the next time, so when it happens again, they'll know what to do. So in this case, with the child that was crying because her friends won't play with her, we say, well, let's see, what could you do the next time it happened? I have an idea. Why don't you get your jump rope and put it in your backpack and take it to school, so the next time it happens, you'll have your jump rope so you can play by yourself. Or you as a parent can figure out how many play dates you need to have with your children so they can make new friends. When it comes to the 13-year-old, we solved a bigger problem by teaching him what to do the next time it happened so that he would learn what to do when his parents met with each other and they erupted into their same old behavior of conflict. So 5 is we help our children to figure out what to do the next time it happens, which we did with the young man about, well, let's figure out what to do. And he came up with the fake faint, which empowered him. Then we practice what to do in step 6 the next time it happens. So we talk about, okay, well, let's go get your jump rope now and put it in your backpack. And then we'll put your backpack by the front door so you'll have it. Or let's figure out what play date we can have. Or let's practice the fake faint. So when it comes time the next day for your daughter to go to school, just remind her, now remember, you've got your jump rope in your backpack. So if your friends aren't there to play with you today, you can jump rope. Or mom's going to call or dad's going to call today your friend so-and-so and see when we can have a play date to strengthen that friendship. We help solve the problem, but we remind them what to do the next time it happens. And then we ask them how it went. How did it go? Well, my friends weren't there today. Okay. Well, remember, the next time they are there, if they're not going to play with you, you've got your jump rope. So we are helping our children remember what to do the next time it happens. In step 8, what you're really doing is checking to make sure that if there's a problem with the problem you were trying to solve, you again tweak it. Give them strategies and have them practice what to do the next time it happens so they have more confidence. Think about the young man that did the fake faint. That experience lasted for 9 months before that whole incident occurred again. But the boy was changed. He was running high anxiety attacks. He told me when I first met him that he's really, really, really stressed. And when I asked him what happens when you're really, really, really stressed, he said, the hair on the back of my neck stands straight out. And then he's clutching for his throat. And he's like, and I said, you can't breathe? And he said, yeah, that's a really huge anxiety attack. To help your children figure out what to do when their friends won't play with them, and solve the problem in advance, you are helping your children not be surprised when things happen again. The most powerful thing you can do is teach your children how to be strong, what to do the next time it happens, how to recognize it's happening again so they can learn to solve it. The 8 steps of empathy is one of the most powerful processes you can use to help your children so they aren't fragile when they grow up. They can solve their own problems. And 2, your compassion and empathy will help them do the same thing for their friends and their children when they grow up. Number 5, teach your children how to gratefully give money out of their own earnings. You want to teach your children about money first. You want to teach them how to earn it, save it, invest it, spend it, and how to give it to others in need. Start a family bank to teach your children how to earn money. Working together, create a special event, activity, a fun project, or an exciting vacation you want to work toward. Plan how you will work together to earn money for this special event. Discuss how money works with your children. Give each child a voice and a vote in the planning and the implementation of this special activity, and then repeat it over and over. Pick a beloved charity or an organization you want to help out with money. Come up with a plan as a family to earn money for that particular organization that you will all do together to earn and then give the money away. Create a bank account to deposit the money so the children all learn how to manage money and balance money. Teach your children how to give of themselves without expecting anything back in return. Pick a program in a location you cannot go to, whether it's out of the country or in a location far away. As a family, decide how to earn money to donate to this program. Talk about the emotional and physical benefits everyone in the family can experience, even when they do not get to see the results. Explain to your children how parents often do a lot of work for their children when they're babies, and the baby cannot say thank you. Tell your children that you give them a lot of love and care even though they are not aware of it or what you do for them yet. You are not demanding appreciation. You are helping them learn that you are giving to them because you want to. Explain to them how there are emotional rewards we get inside. Teach them how to respect and appreciate the hard work you do, using empathy and compassion, not guilt or criticism. You want them to develop genuine appreciation as they mature. Role model giving your time, money, resources, or items of value to someone or an organization without ever expecting to be thanked or rewarded. And ask your children to tell you how they've helped someone without being acknowledged for it. And number 8, teach your children how to lead others to become more generous. As parents, we can coach, guide, teach, and gently nudge our children to learn how to become more generous. At the same time, as we help them help others, you will help them become leaders of generosity. We want to help them learn how to give without expectations. We want them to choose to embrace living a highly generous life because it leads to higher happiness and better health. You will be teaching your children as a gold medal parent to reap the internal rewards that come as they give generously to others. No matter what time of year, reflect on the lessons we learned from Ebenezer Scrooge. Apply the strategies I shared within this video to help raise highly generous children who love giving to others and making a difference in their world with their skills, time, resources, and money. Go out and share your love, laughter, joy, wonder, happiness, and your wealth with others. As Tiny Tim says, God bless us, everyone. I'm Dr. Deena Stacer, and be sure to hit the subscribe button to watch more videos of ideas about how you can be a gold medal parent raising children with generosity and leadership qualities. If you're interested in contacting me, my information is below. doc@deenastacer.com and my 800 number, 800-980-0434.